Welcome back to another episode of PA Whiskey Guys. I'm Chris.
And I'm Jesse.
And we got another great episode for you guys tonight. We have the Four Roses Distillery, and we have two special bottles here tonight. It's going to be the Single Barrel and the Single Barrel Barrel Strength. So for the understanding of this, they're going to be both single barrels but completely different. Right, Jess?
Yeah, strength-wise, they are, we'll get into it a little bit, but the mash bills on these are identical, except, the difference is one's barrel strength. So, 100 proof versus 116, I believe, 116 point something.
0.8, yep.
116.8, so that's the difference between the two of these. And again, Four Roses is very unique in the way they do their mash bills. It's quite complex actually, and very interesting actually at the same time. But before that, we'll give you a little history lesson like we always do. They started out around the Prohibition era. They were one of the few brands that was allowed to produce medicinal whiskey, kind of like Old Forester, kind of like I forget what the last one we did, but they were in it. Helped them survive as the other distilleries did. They became one of the top selling bourbons in the United States during the 30s, 40s, and 50s, which is pretty crazy. I mean, not knowing how many were out there at the time, but in 1943, Seagram's bought Four Roses. They shifted their focus to blended whiskey in the U.S. market while continuing to export straight bourbon to Europe and Asia, which is pretty different. The strategy continued until 2002 when the Kirin Brewery Company of Japan acquired Four Roses and reintroduced it into the American market, which I didn't know that. I thought Four Roses was around before that.
Yeah.
Which I mean, they might have. But they, up into the modern era now, Four Roses has flourished, gaining a reputation of high-quality bourbon. The brand's master distiller, Brent Elliott, continues to innovate while maintaining traditional methods that have made Four Roses a beloved name in bourbon. They've won numerous awards over the years, including multiple gold medals. God, I can't talk today at all. At the San Francisco World Spirit Competition, which I believe is like the premier competition
out there. Yeah,
definitely for the United States.
It's weird that it's out there, not in Kentucky. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know. They
let's
do all
trust
kinds
California
of
with
out
it.
there. Yeah.
So,
they typically do single barrels and small batch. They have a regular Four Roses. Lower proof, I believe 80 proof. But their thing is single barrels and, the batch style bourbons or whatever.
Yeah, we are just discussing that with the small batch select as well.
It's one of their bottles that they have.
I haven't done much looking into the difference between small batch and your single barrels. I mean, I'm assuming the small batches are blended.
Yeah, they are, and they don't. Not that I know of, they don't disclose how many barrels they use in the small batch. So, I mean, it might be out there, but I doubt it. They don't disclose that information really. They're known for their single barrel bourbons.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely have unique flavor profiles. Four Roses only uses 2 different mash bills, but they have 5 different yeast strains. That's how they get, like, essentially it's 10 different recipes.
That's crazy.
It's actually pretty crazy how this works. And
that's one of the only ones that I know that does it.
Yeah, I've only had 2 different mash bills, or 2 different, yeast strains. I don't remember what the other one was, but like I said, these 2 that we have are OBSV, and Chris, you want to shed some light on what they actually are?
Yeah. Okay. So we have. So recently, Four Roses has introduced a new single barrel collection to celebrate their 20th anniversary of their flagship single barrel. This collection includes 3 new single barrel products, each with its unique flavor. So we have the OBSV. That is what I believe we're drinking tonight. between the single barrel and the single barrel strength is an OBSV. It's a rye spice, apricot, pear, cinnamon, and toasted oak.
Which the new ones that you're referencing, the labels are all red. If you've seen them on the shelves or seen them in the news or whatever.
That was the confusing thing to me, is they're all red labels, but then they have OBSV on them.
Yep.
The OBSF. Yep. And the OBSK. That was new to me. I'd never seen that before.
Right. That single barrel that we have, the single barrel we have here is, I believe, it's the new red label is the replacement for this one. This is an older. This bottle's probably definitely over a year old. That I
the barrel strength one.
No, the regular one that we have here.
The single barrel.
The regular single barrel, yeah, not the barrel strength one. The new one with the red label is the replacement for these in the future, I believe.
Okay.
So.
All right. So then there is the OBSF, part of the 3 new ones, and that's herbal notes, bright rye, apple, vanilla, clove, and cocoa. And then the OESK is baking spices, mellow oak, tea leaves, and caramel.
I believe that's the other one that I had.
Okay.
From someone I don't remember.
Now there is a gray label out there. That's a single barrel. Or no, that's the select.
That's the
right?
That's the single barrel. Batch. That's the new label, the single barrel. So again, I don't know where they're going with the red label ones. I don't know enough about Four Roses to even comment on it. They still make the gray colored label, which replaces like the yellowish on this label. Yeah, that is a single barrel.
Okay.
The other ones, the red ones, I'm not sure.
That's these 3 new ones.
That's these 3 new. Well, they've been around.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's a replacement. You know, if we saw, I mean, again, I've had this bottle for a year. It could be older than that. The gray label is a replacement label, but then now they're on to the red ones. Newer. The red's even newer, and that's where they're going.
Seems like a real complex system.
It does. I mean, it definitely does. Yeah, I don't get it. And like I said, I was always one to, like we said in our last episode about how we were talking about wild turkey or whatever, and it's your grandfather's bourbon. Mm-hmm. This is the same thing. Like, I've heard so many stories from friends with their grandfathers, and all they drank was Four Roses back in the day, and so I passed on it a lot, in the liquor stores, because you don't think it's good, but
this is gonna be the first time I've had it.
It is tasty.
Both
stuff.
Of these,
it's pretty tasty.
All right, so they have 2 mash bills. They have a mash bill B, which is their high rye. It is composed of 60% corn, 35% rye, and 5% malted barley. That flavor profile is spicier with more rye character. So I would consider that their rye profile. Like, that's the rye mash bill, right? It's a little bit more.
Yep.
They have mash bill E, which is a low rye. So that composition is going to be 75% corn, 20% rye, and 5% malted barley. So it's higher in the corn and low in the rye. But it
should be a little sweeter. The corn's going to be a little bit sweeter profile.
And it's higher in rye, though, than ones we've had in the past. Still, with the 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we've had 12% on some of the whiskeys. We've been trying 12%, 15% rye, give or take.
So they call it a high rye, low rye. So, I mean, they still include a lot of rye in their mash bills, I would think.
They do.
Or I would get from this. So, like you were saying, too, so now they have 2 mash bills, the B and the E. And then they have 5 yeast strains. They have the V, which is a delicate fruit. They have the K, which is a slight spice. They have an O, which is a rich fruit. A Q, floral essence, and then an F is the herbal notes. So that's how they're able to get their 10 different flavors. Mm-hmm. And so with the 5 different yeast strains, the different combinations that they have are the OBSV, OBSK, OBSO, OBSQ, OBSF. And then you go to OESV, OESK, OESO, OESQ, OESF. And to help you out with the label and how to read it, All right, so each Four Roses bottle has a 4-letter code that tells you about the bourbon inside. And the first letter O, always O, means Four Roses Distillery. So that O means Four Roses.
Yep.
Your second letter is going to indicate the mash bill. So it's a B or an E because they only have the 2 mash bills. So B being the high rye, E is the low rye. The third letter is S for straight bourbon. So it's always an S. And then their fourth letter indicates which yeast strength they use. So you're always going to have the O and the S in there. So it's always going to be Four Roses and straight bourbon, B for high rye, E for low rye, and then you're going to have the OBSV, the VK, OQ, and F are the yeast strains. This is a very complex system they got.
There's a lot to it. Again, for those that are listening, we're looking at a paper because there's no way you can
I wouldn't remember this.
But if you see the variances in the stores, which I've only seen a handful here at PA,
yeah.
You'd have to actually know this, like to kind of, if you're a favorite of...
Yeah, to keep track of what you like.
Yeah, you'd have to know what they mean, and...
I think the biggest thing to pay attention to is definitely, the mash bill. Right? So do you like a high rye or low rye?
Yes.
I think that's going to be number 1.
Yep.
And then when you can break it down to which yeast strain you like, which, now being 5 of them, that's a lot to figure in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different. I'd love to try all these, side by side to decide which ones I like. Again, the 2 that we have here, same yeast strain, essentially. The difference between the proof, between the 2 of them, this one's pretty tasty, in my opinion. In fact,
with a single barrel you're talking about.
Yeah, the single barrel.
100 proof. Okay.
Both of them, but the second one that we're gonna do today, which is the barrel strength one, I got this in the middle of 2024, so last year, and again, not that we've tried a ton of different whiskeys last year. But by far, this was my favorite whiskey that I tried last year. Hands down by far.
Okay.
Again, I didn't try a whole crazy bunch of them.
Yeah.
But I definitely thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a good one. It was definitely a good one. So.
Well, so this first one is going to be the single barrel. That's going to be the 100 proof. And it says it's out of warehouse number NS and barrel number 42. 6U. So now you were saying there's something with that 42-6U is the height or the floor it was on, location it was in.
Yep, they have they put a little label on the front of the bottles, and I don't know if this is, I believe it's even on the new red label bottles that we were talking about. They do the rack and tier numbers essentially, breaking it down on the label. When you think about the warehouses or the rick houses as they call them, for Four Roses they only have 6 tiers essentially. That's how they're
okay.
And I think there's so many feet between each tier. So 6 being the highest in their rick houses, that's where the barrels are going to get a lot of the heat.
You're going to get the most heat, yeah.
They're going to get the most heat as opposed to the ones that are on the ground level. So that's where your flavors come in. How they do it, I don't know. Obviously they have different tiers. This is the only one that I've had, which is what we're at. We are at tier 6.
Yep.
So
6U.
6U, which
so
is...
you would be placement over, left or right.
So maybe. Basically I'm going to assume they use the alphabet from A to Z.
Yeah.
So that must be where it is in the, in the line of the rest of the barrels or whatever, which is obviously at the end, close to the end.
Again, this is one of the only ones that I know that actually places which barrel or where that barrel was in the rickhouse.
Yeah.
Right, I don't know if I've ever seen that anywhere.
No, so other bourbons that you've tried or whiskeys or whatever, they put like a barrel number on it. But the barrel number, like our last episode we did Kentucky Spirit, had a barrel number, but they don't disclose where it was in the rickhouse or what warehouse it's from. Now, oddly enough, with Wild Turkey or the Russells, which we didn't really get into, Russells has warehouse locations.
Yeah, they
They do actually have a warehouse that it was in, kind of like when we did Blanton's. Blanton's is Warehouse H.
Okay.
But these guys, they're labeled whatever. They're, what does it say? NS on the one.
Yeah.
So doesn't mean anything to us because we've never been there.
No,
so,
no. All right. Well, let's go ahead and nose this one then. So again, the Four Roses Single Barrel, 100 proof. This is this from 2024? This bottle?
I don't know. I would assume so, but I'm not positive. No, it might be a little bit older than that. I don't think there's a date on them as to when they were released.
There isn't.
Oddly enough, not getting ahead of ourselves, the barrel strength one that we have here is December 2023. It's actually a store pick. It's a fine wine, good spirits store pick. So I don't know if they actually...
The next one, okay. The
next one we're going to do, which is, again, the same mash bill. It's just a barrel strength version of it, so...
So then this single barrel, we don't know... I mean, within the last few years, right?
It's definitely probably...
They've changed the label since then,
Yeah,
so...
yeah, I mean, you'd have to do a lookup on the label itself. Yeah. So I really don't know, honestly.
Okay. So as a single barrel, then, as a Four Roses single barrel, the nose on this is I get a... I don't want to say green apple, but the rind of a green apple.
Yeah, I'm getting a rye spice.
Yep.
I get a little faint oak.
Yeah.
I get ethanol, actually. It's actually hitting me. Usually I haven't gotten that recently, but I'm getting the ethanol on the nose, which, which is, it's not too many of them that we've reviewed recently have we've gotten that.
You get like a spice and a sweetness from like a fruit. And I want to say that sweetness is coming from the green apple. Like a rind of a green apple.
Yeah.
On the nose of this, it definitely favors the rye. The rye noses that we've had in the past.
Right, because it is mash bill B, which is their high rye. Mm-hmm. On the palate, I mean, I'm getting hit with some spice, some heavy spice up front. I get a little bit of the oak. A little sweetness, but I couldn't pinpoint as to actually what it is.
I get a buttery sweetness. It's like a buttery
coat in the palate.
Yeah, like not much apple there, but there is that same sweetness. That's like a light fruit. I want to say a dark red, but like a light, almost I don't even want to say a pear. Just like a light fruit flavor profile there.
I mean, it says pear apricot. I don't get... Yeah, I don't really get... I'm actually not even getting any of the fruit.
See, I get a lot of fruit flavors on ryes anyway, though.
Some of them that we had in the past, yeah. This is not like, so, comparing the ryes.
It's a heavy rye.
It's a heavier rye. I that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Like, I get, like, when the ryes that we've had, like, they were more, definitely sweeter. Mm-hmm. This is, like, straight spice rye, like.
No, this is spice. Yeah, there's a lot of spice in this.
This is like if you had, like, as they say, like, the 95.5 ryes, that's heavy spice, and, you get that little burn from it and stuff. It's not bad. It's just not...
I like this one.
It's not your typical bourbon where it's sweet. You don't get those sweet characteristics in it.
No. I want to say, as far as the Four Roses single barrel goes, I enjoy this one, but it's not what I would look for.
No, it was a try. I'm curious to see what you think of the next one. It's definitely more complex,
Okay.
And not to disclose today to people, I should say, not. This is the second episode recording in one day, so we've had our fair share of sips today.
Yeah.
And our palates might be getting a little blown out, but
this did seem very simple though compared to other ones. There's not a lot going on. It doesn't linger on. so the finish isn't too long. The flavor doesn't stick around too long.
No, the only thing that's sticking around for me is the spice in the back of my throat,
Yeah.
kind of, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no flavor left on the palate. It disappears fairly quick.
And that's why I kind of want to relate it to that light fruit, because a light fruit like an apple or a pear, or
Yeah, it goes quick.
you know, they come and go real fast. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I mean, I'm not going to turn it down, but it is one of my lesser favorites that I've had. It's very light, but again, it's still 100 proof, so it's an easy. That was an easy sipper.
Yeah, it's not bad.
You know. All right, let's do this single barrel strength. So our next one is going to be Four Roses Single Barrel Strength. This one comes in at 116.8 proof. This is warehouse number EN and barrel number 313B, as in Bravo. So third floor.
Yep.
Second barrel in.
Yep.
All right. I don't know if that means anything to me, but
I mean,
between 3B and 3U, I'd like to try them.
Yeah,
See if there's a difference between left and right.
I heard that, you know, when people see these on the shelves or whatever, they look for the top tiers because that's where the biggest temperature fluctuations are going to be. And
You get the most heat out of it.
yeah, you're going to get probably the most out of the barrels and stuff, which makes sense. But
at the same time, are you getting the most cold exchange out of that too? You know, because heat rises. We
Yeah.
all know that.
yeah,
So if you get the most heat out of it, you're going to get the least amount of cold, right?
you would think.
So
Potentially.
that would be, you know, that would be an interesting game to play. I wonder if they have one where they rotate the barrels. You know,
I don't
wonder
know.
if there's a rick house out there where the barrels move from up and down to kind of evenly distribute them.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
It's on the nose for me. I'm still getting that spice. It's the same recipe as we've said, you know.
yeah,
OBSV.
I don't get as much spice on this one.
It's not as much. Definitely not
No.
as much. I do get a little bit of it, but I'm getting a little like musty.
Yeah, there is a musky smell.
You know, stuff, something like that. I'm getting fruit, and I want to say dark fruit, which is crazy.
Like a dark cherry.
Dark.
Like something, like a plum.
Which is not listed in the notes.
I didn't even see notes on this one.
It's the same as the other one. It says, so the label on the thing here, it says,
Oh, it's on.
you know, again, going back to, it is, I can't read that far. It's tiny reading. Yeah, it says delicate,
Damn.
fruity, pear, apricot, and spicy and creamy.
Okay. So, on the palate, on the nose on that one, you get a little bit of spice, not as much. But I get a sweetness.
I get a sweetness too.
It's not a caramel. It's not a caramel sweetness.
No, you're not getting
It's
that
like
brown
a-
sugar baking spice thing on this one.
No. It's back to a fruit, but
I'm
yeah,
not
like a plum.
I'm not familiar with pear and
Like a
apricot,
plum.
so I couldn't tell you there.
I want to say like a plum to me, like a dark, like we were saying, a dark fruit. And then on the palate is that buttery taste again, man. But like
Creamy.
that's a lot heavier than the other one.
It's definitely more flavorful by
Yeah.
far. I mean,
It's a lot more
like I
complex.
said, this is one of my favorites of 2024.
Yeah,
You know, compared to other ones, it's not your typical.
I would.
It's not your typical sweet brown sugar baking spice. No. You know, vanilla.
I want to compare this to that Kentucky Spirit.
More spicier. This is definitely more spicier.
Yeah, it's spicier, but as far as that butteriness, as far as the creaminess goes, I mean that's.
Yeah. Yeah, this
I want to
one's
compare that to that.
This one's got some body to it. That's for sure.
As far as the legs go, you mean?
Yeah, it's like you get that viscosity and it coats your palate and
It is-
lingers. I don't get the spice in the back of my throat like I was getting it on the regular one.
No, not at all. Not on this one. It's back to that creamy, buttery, the Heath bar.
Yeah.
So I would assume a toffee flavor, right?
I I'm still have a little bit in my glass, and I'm still nosing it here, and it's getting sweeter and sweeter for me, which is a good thing, I guess.
Yeah. I would put this one with that Kentucky Spirits that we had earlier. As far as I know, the different episodes, but either way, single barrel, not very complex. Still good, just not too complex. This single barrel proof. A lot of flavors going on there. Got a rich, creamy, buttery taste. The Heath notes I want to compare to that Kentucky Spirit from Wild Turkey. We probably shouldn't be comparing it, but either way, very similar.
No, I'd like to. I mean, it's different proof, so it's hard to. I think this would stand out because because it's 116 or 117 versus 100.
Doesn't drink like a high proof.
No, it doesn't. You get a little bit. I think this has more rye in it though. So I mean, I don't know what the other.
It does. That was 13%.
Yeah,
rye.
So this is 7% more rye.
Yeah, 35.
I think they would stand out against each other.
Yeah.
I think this has a little bit more flavor.
Yeah, it's more complex.
Yeah, I think the Kentucky Spirit's a definitely easier drinker.
Yes.
That's like an everyday pour, honestly. So
there's a lot to get out of this one though. If you sit there, sip on it, chew on it, swallow it, chew on it a little bit more in the after flavor, you're gonna get a lot more out of it.
Yeah.
So
like I said, a favorite of mine from 2024.
Yeah, and I never had these before, so if I would have had this in 2024, it probably would have been my favorite.
And not a lot of people talk about Four Roses.
Mm-mm.
Or YouTube and podcasts that I listen to. I don't see very many people talk about Four Roses, which is, it's crazy, Maybe they're hard to get. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've only seen a handful around us here, so.
The only ones I see are the small batches.
Mm-hmm. They have the regular one is always on the shelf. The small batch select is usually on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
The single barrels are usually around too. The barrel strength ones, they're not.
No.
Last year, mid last year, I think I got this one because I remember us still being at camp when I grabbed it. So 6-7 months ago now, maybe 6 months ago.
And again, it's one of the most complex distilleries that I've ever come across, as far as 10 different ones, 2 different mash bills, 5 different yeast strains, and so that just means their single barrels are going to have 10 different single barrels. So that's crazy.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. It's 10 different barrels, yeah. Or 10 different bottles you can try.
So I'm going to go ahead and rate these two. I'm going to put the single barrel strength first and the single barrel last.
I would have to agree with you.
I'm going to rate them both a thumbs up. That single barrel strength, double thumbs up. I really enjoy that one. Again, I get the rye taste out of both of them. There's a sweetness there with spice. More so, complexity comes out of the barrel strength one though.
Yeah, hands down.
With that buttery creaminess, a little bit of apple there, and the fruity overallness of it. So I really enjoyed that one. So, well, I guess that wraps it up for tonight, right?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up with that.
All right. Well, again, I'm Chris.
And I'm Jesse.
And we'll catch you with the Quirk Out.